All right, good. We're on. We're recording. All
Cool.
right, guys. Hello, welcome. I have David here. David from Miracle Canine Training. I've actually been excited to talk to you for a while. I just never had the time to connect. So, David, if you want to quickly tell us about yourself, like I don't know too much about you, so I'd rather have you do the introduction yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So my name's David. I own a company called Miracle Canine Training here in Cleveland, Ohio, in the States. We are a dog training facility. Obviously, we also offer some boarding and daycare that's like client exclusive to our training clients. Obviously, and we've really just been trying to build just like a community for people that have challenging dogs to have a place they could leave them if they go out of town, get the support that they need for stuff, just have regular communication stuff between client and trainer. Obviously, we got a killer team down here. We train a lot of dogs every year, and over the years have kind of started making a pretty good name for ourselves in the area and around the states. So, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, how many staff do you have?
We have about on I think on payroll we got like 15 people right
Oh,
now.
that's wow. That's great.
So
That's
quite a
great.
few. Not all of those are trainers, obviously. I mean, some of those are bookkeepers and media people. We got a team of 3 media people.
Got it.
We got obviously trainers. There's 4 of us here that train, and yeah, a bunch of kennel staff, stuff like that.
Nice. Good, good, good. Okay. And regarding your staff, like what would you say your trainers' skill sets are? Are they all dealing with the same stuff you are, or is that just something you specifically do, like the more
No,
difficult stuff?
yeah, it's a good question. No, we all kind of do everything here.
Great.
Obviously, specialty is like behavioral modification and stuff. We deal with puppies, dogs that just looking for like off leash training and stuff like that. Obviously, but I'm a firm believer that the dog training side of things, it's not as hard as a lot of people kind of play it out to be. And some of our trainers have quite a bit of experience. Some of them are a little
Great.
bit green with stuff. But I really like my role in the company is kind of, says on my business card, like training director. So I kind of provide the support for people as I need to. And with these junior, staff members and stuff that we have, or more experienced ones, like we can kind of bounce ideas off each other. I could sit in on lessons where I need to help them out with stuff. And I think that's the best way to grow. When I first started getting into training, when I worked for the first company, I think the biggest learning curve for me that I was able to kind of zip around was that I got hands-on experience with clients and dogs. I was kind of thrown right in with the wolves with stuff,
Good.
which good and bad because I learned a lot really, really fast. It was bad from the standpoint of I didn't have the support I needed when we had a difficult dog, right? And I kind of had to either seek information elsewhere, right, through other trainers online or research and stuff like that, or I had to kind of just wing it. And then sometimes it worked, other times it didn't, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So I want my trainers to have that same ability to have some like autonomy over working with these dogs and feeling like they're a part of the team and really heading the show with a lot of these dogs, but still know that they have that support with the difficult cases where they need it. So yeah.
Good. Good. Yeah. And so you must have started a while ago because when I started, I had the same experience. You'd
Yeah.
run into aggression, certain scenarios, and you're like, hey, like I'm kind of trapped. I don't know what to do. I need some help. And no one also has the answers and you have to wing it. So is
Yeah.
that was that your experience or was it with other stuff?
Yeah, it was primarily that. So I worked for a guy for a couple of years when I first started getting into training, and whatever it was, is he wasn't there very much, we'll say. And in the cases where like there's a couple cases in particular I could think of where it's like, damn, like I really needed some support on like what to do with this dog, and just didn't really have that backing of somebody that was gonna like come and like work with that dog with me or work with that client with me and stuff like that.
Got it.
A
Got
lot
it.
of that kind of stuff, and yeah.
Okay. And when did you start?
About 10 years ago, something like that.
Oh,
So
that's
I've
great.
owned my own business now for coming up on 8 years, I believe.
Great.
And I,
Congratulations.
I appreciate that. And I worked for somebody for about a year and a half to 2 years before that. So
That's great. That's great. Now, the when you worked for someone before,
mhm.
was it like a bigger company or was it a smaller, similar training style?
Yeah, small little local place.
That's great.
Did very good work. Like they had a good name for themselves at one point, but the owner, like I said, he had a lot of personal things going on that took him away from the company.
Yeah,
Um,
that's difficult.
yeah, ultimately put myself and my former business partner in a position where we kind of basically ran the company, you know? And like I said,
Oh,
like
wow.
good and bad, like we learned a lot in doing it, but it was bad from the standpoint of, you know, we had to make a lot of mistakes to learn those things, you
Yeah,
know?
it's never fun. It's
For
never
sure.
fun. Okay, and you have personal dogs yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. I got four of them. I got
Oh, good. Same.
two pitties, a Belgian Shepherd, and like a mini Labradoodle or something like that.
Oh, yeah, you have a mini Labradoodle. That's
And he's a
good.
little scruffy guy. We don't know what he is.
Okay, and what are their backstories?
So Vera, my one pitty, that was my first dog. She's
Nice.
gonna be like 11. So I got her, and that's kind of what kickstarted the journey. I never had dogs growing up or anything. So I got her, adopted her when she was really, really young. And my first thought was like, I gotta figure out how to train this dog. So I went through all sorts of different local training programs trying to figure out how to train, which is what led me to where I worked ultimately. Deli, the other pitty, was my wife's dog that I actually met. She was a client of mine. I ended up board and
Nice.
train with her. She was a real little pain in the ass. That turnaround was great. She's an awesome dog right now. And then Vinny, my Belgian Shepherd, I got him. He's gonna be 9. I got him when he was like 4 months old, I believe, from a breeder out in California. And I got him originally. I did Mondio Ring, and I
Oh,
got him
nice.
originally to do ring sport with him. And you know, as the company grew, there wasn't really time for that anymore. And he's kind of just a glorified pet, which I
Yeah.
would say is the dog I learned the absolute most from, because obviously Malinois are crazy. He's on like another level of crazy, and not like in a good, like high drive way. Like he's got a ton of like neurological issues, like anxiety
Oh,
issues.
shoot. Yeah.
He's just kind of like a basket case, you know?
Yeah.
On top of him being a Malinois made him very, very, very unmanageable when he was younger. And a lot of like your typical things you would have heard in the industry 8 years ago of like how to handle dogs like that just didn't work with him, you know?
I bet. I bet.
So I had to kind of learn how to like live outside of the box with him, and you know, ultimately make him like he's a pet now. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't work. Like he's a pet that lives in my house, and he mingles and interacts with my guests and with my other dogs and stuff like that. And I learned so much with that dog. And then the mini Labradoodle Waffles, we just got him. He's like going to be 2 now. We rescued him recently, and he's just a little scruffy guy. He
Nice.
doesn't give us much trouble. He's a pretty easy little dog.
Good. So you're Malinois. Like I'm always curious because I have two Malinois and they're super easy. Like they're not the typical Malinois. I find them they're exactly what you say. Very glorified pet. Like they have
Yeah.
I'd say low drive Malinois. They're very easy. I haven't had any issues with them, but I always wanted a bit more of a crazy one, but I see lots of crazy ones. So by bit of a basket case, what exactly do you mean? Do you have anything specific you can tell us?
Yeah, I mean, he had like horrendous kennel anxiety. He was very kind of sketchy and fearful initially. Like he wasn't as confident and stable as some of them you see. Very, very kind of sensitive from that standpoint, I would say.
Got
Uh, and just nuts, you know. I mean, like
it.
he's the dog you see that he doesn't stop moving ever, right?
Yes.
He's
Yes.
constantly spinning or pacing around and you know, stuff like that. But he's a really, the thing that I like about him is he's really, because he's so sensitive, I think he's really sweet, right? He's
That's
not
good.
like that like confident macho dog that like, you know, can be very friendly and sweet, but also very assertive sometimes. Like that's not really his temperament, you know?
Okay.
So like once he likes you, like he loves you, you know,
Oh,
like
nice.
really
Yeah, he's
great
like a
with my
squishy
family,
little
I guess.
comes
He's
up against you.
freaking obsessed with my wife. He's kicked me to the curb and just loves her more than any person on the face of the planet at this point. So
That's nice. Well, good. Good.
mm.
That's nice to hear. So yeah, we'll go over a few of the questions. So based on what you're doing now, what would you say your primary job is now? Because you said training director. So are you actively working with the dogs or are you just now mentoring your staff? What's going on?
It's a lot more of mentoring the staff, but I do
Great.
still work with dogs very regularly. So
Got it.
at this point, we have a junior board and train trainer who I kind of just put in the position 6 months ago, maybe 7, 8 months ago, something like that. And
Nice.
you know, my primary gig right now is helping her out with those dogs. So like I'll actually do sessions with them and stuff. But primarily I'll do like she'll train the dog while the dog's here, and then I'll do their send home lesson and all their follow-up lessons. I've got a handful of one-on-one clients that I work
Nice.
with here and there. Every now and then I'll take a board and train myself just because I like having a dog that I can really like tinker with and stuff.
Yes.
Right now we actually have, I don't know if you're a UFC fan or not, we have a Stipe Miocic. He was like
Oh, you have me. Oh, that's great.
I got his dog in right now. He's my personal dog that I'm working with.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, and like if we get like an exceptionally challenging case, I'll kind of absorb that one. Like if there's one where it's like, this one really is a little bit more particular with stuff, or really is giving the owners a hard time with stuff, and I'll try to kind of shadow the trainers through it, but like sometimes I'll just absorb because it's just easier for me to just take it on and just like get past that one at that point. So, but yeah, no, I still work with dogs every day. So
Great. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's great. Stipe. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so do you have any specific dogs you like working with, like favorite breeds, types? I know it's a bit of a ridiculous question, but I'm always curious.
Yeah. I really don't think there's a breed thing specifically. I like, and this sounds just as ridiculous as the question. Like I like the challenging ones.
Yep.
Not like the crazy dangerous ones. Like I like working with those from the standpoint of I like helping people with them. But like, anytime you're dealing with like massive risk as far as like the success of the program, or,
Yes.
just working with the dog in general, like I don't like to say that's enjoyable,
Yeah, I know.
it's necessary, but it's not necessarily fun. Right. But like some of just the pain in the ass dogs, like there's something about like when a dog comes in and it's just a real, just like not dangerous or anything. It's just a pain in the ass. And then you get that breakthrough with them. And then it's just like the bond you have with that dog after you have that breakthrough is just, it's cool, And then
I agree. Yeah.
You can relate so much with the owner too, because it's like the owner knows their dog is a pain in the ass, right? Like that's why they're bringing them. So when you could like joke about it and like understand the dog's quirkiness, whether it's their pain in the assness or they're just like weird traits that they have and stuff like that, like you build a great connection with the dog and with the owner. Like it's like with my dogs, I joke that like my wife and I say all the time, like we have like the dumbest dogs ever because they do the stupid shit all the time, right? Like nothing malicious or anything, but they just have these weird quirks, right?
Yeah.
And like that's what makes you love them so much. So if you could find that connection with your owner, like with those difficult dogs, like it's like you find the ultimate harmony of like your dog is awesome, you're awesome, we're making great success, like things are good.
Good. Yeah. And I think I have an idea of what you're talking about. So a dog being a pain in the ass would be like I have a corgi over right now that my staff is working with, and you're laughing because corgis are they're very complicated. They wake up one day, exactly. They wake up one day, they're ready to do something. They wake up the next day and they're like, you know what, today I'm gonna be mean. And then we have a Shiba over too. He's actually probably one of the most difficult Shiba Inus I've seen in a while.
Top dogs too.
Yeah, they're tough. And we've met lots of Shibas. They're very popular up here. I find them very difficult to work with in general, but this one has to be top of the line challenging. And we finally started to connect about 2 weeks ago. So I get what you're saying. And now I'm really starting to like him.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. Like Shiba, for example, Shiba and Corgi. I'll give you 2 examples of both of those, right? So one of my facility manager here has 2 Corgis, right? And the one, his name is Watson. He's a very sweet, loving dog, right? But there are certain things pushes buttons, right? So like he has this funny, quirky thing he does that it's one of those things where like if we posted it as like a TikTok, right? Every trainer in the world would be like, "Oh my God, you're such a fucking shit trainer. Why would you let this?" You know what I mean? Because you'll ask, if you ask him to give you paw, right? He'll give you paw and then like, and like show his teeth and growl and stuff. But there's nothing behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
No intention to like bite you. He lives with she has a young child that he's wonderful with. Like he's a great dog, but like it's just a little weird, quirky thing he has. And again, like common trainer knowledge says that's bad. You have to stop that. You can't let the dog rehearse that behavior. But once you truly understand the dog and understand that he's not mean and aggressive, right? He's just a pain in the ass. And that's his way of showing that he's being a pain in the ass. You could kind of accept those quirky behaviors as a part of them and focus on the things that really matter right?
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
like the Shibas, right? The Shiba scream is the biggest thing, right? We had this dog Mochi years back that was a Shiba. That was just the worst Shiba screamer I've ever met in my life. Like, it was ridiculous. Like we had to be conscious of when we were working the dog in the facility
Oh
because
yeah,
it makes
yeah, I
such
know.
horrible noises that if there were clients in the building, or we're in kind of like a warehouse district where there's like a bunch of businesses around us, if there's like just people walking by or something, they would think we're killing a dog inside. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
I can imagine. Yeah, they have this glass shattering
Oh my God.
scream at a tone that's just immeasurable.
It's unbelievable, right? But
Yeah,
like, like we focused on like, it's like, everybody's always like, well, we got to make this dog not scream and do this. It's like, you're not going to do it, right? The dog is going to scream over some things. You could get it better, obviously, right? And you could improve the dog's tolerance and threshold to things, but that's a part of who that dog is, right? So let's not try to change who the dog is and their like pain in the ass quirks that they have. Let's focus on the things that actually matter, which they didn't bring the dog to us for screaming. They brought the dog to us for a multitude of other problems where they actually had no control over the dog, and the screaming was just kind of a
exactly.
product of that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. A little
What I
byproduct.
mean about like with my Malinois, like so many different things that I learned from him is that like he was like that, right? Like with the spinning and the pacing, and he's very noisy and vocal and whiny and barky, and like when he gets frustrated, he's leaking like crazy and stuff like that. And it's like I spent the first like 2 years of owning that dog just like butting heads with him because I didn't want him to like I didn't think that's what a dog should be. And I'm trying to like correct stuff and stop this and not let him do this and let him do that and stuff like that. And then I remember one day it was like just like a switch flicked in my head. I was just like, you know what? Like this isn't working. I need to just accept this is who he is. And I just focused on enjoying him and training with him and making sure I still had very good control over him, regardless of like those quirky things on top of it and stuff. And I don't know if it's placebo effect or what, but like as soon as I just accepted who he was and focused on those variables that I could control, it's like everything got 10 times better. Right. And
Good.
those I
Nice.
actually didn't want him to do, they reduced so much because the frustration between myself and him like dissipated. So there was no need for him to get himself so like wound up all the time and so like anxious all the time like that,
Yeah, got it. Got it. No, I understand what you're saying. We see it all the time too. And it's very nice when you just realize, okay, you know what? This is an issue. It's going to take a little longer than I initially anticipated. It's a little challenging, but you figured it out, which is good. And it doesn't seem like it really affected your relationship at all after, right?
No,
So
no. He's probably have one of the best relationships with him out of any of my dogs at this
great.
point. Yeah.
Great. And regarding your corgi story, the nail trimming, it's always funny when the internet thinks they know your dog or your
Yeah.
staff's dog better than the
100%.
staff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, hey, you think I wouldn't be scared to clip my dog's nails or hold my dog's paw if he bit
Yeah.
me every time? Like I wouldn't take a fun joke video of it. But people don't understand that dogs can stay at warning
Yeah.
and never escalate. And they never ever will bite, and people just don't get it.
Yeah.
You've seen the Rottweiler video, the guy clipping
I
off.
was just gonna bring that up. Yeah. I was just gonna bring
Yeah,
that one up.
it's the exact same thing. And then
Yeah.
you see all the comments, they're like, this dog needs to be trained, needs to go to a trainer. And then we have people put up, oh, I'll take this dog as a board and train. He doesn't need it. He's fine.
Yeah. The owners are clearly fine with where he's at. And it's such a give and take, right? Like when I like talk about this stuff on my podcast, like I always have to caveat it with like there are some people that let some like really dumb shit slide with their dog.
Oh yeah.
Can turn into a big problem later on. But this is where it just comes down to you just have to know the dog, right? You gotta understand
Exactly.
who is the dog and where are they ultimately going to take it, right? How are they going to escalate? Where is that fine line with things? My Malinois was the same way, man. Like I took him to like a Tractor Supply, like grooming station, like a couple weeks ago or something like that. And there was like somebody else in it. It's like a small room. And I'm brushing him and he's sitting there the whole time I'm brushing him. He's like, ah. Right. And it's like, he's not going to escalate it any further. Like, I know his line of like, yeah, like this dog, if I pushed it way, way, way too far, I'm sure would bite me eventually. Right. But it's like, I know who he is. I have the relationship with him where I could say, knock that shit off, Vinny. It's just not, it's not working. We're brushing right now. You know what I mean? And it doesn't turn into a big problem. So yeah 100%. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, good. I posted a TikTok video ages ago. You've probably seen it. It's my Malinois laying down. It got like, I don't know, I think it got like 9 or 10 million views. A bunch of people shared it, and the comments were downright ridiculous. And it's one of my Malinois. He was, I think, two or three at the time, laying down, and we had this very nervous little lab puppy.
Okay.
that went right up
Oh,
to
is
him.
it the one where he goes heck or frig or
Yeah,
something?
that one. Yeah.
Oh my God, dude, that's so funny. My wife and I fucking love that video.
Oh,
That's
you do.
so funny.
It's
Damn,
got the swearing soundtrack in the
no
back.
way. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
so I put that video up and all the Malinois pages share it now. And I have this guy out with dogs all the time, and he's like our go-to
Yeah.
dog to help a nervous puppy open up or
Oh
even
yeah.
a nervous dog. And when I put that video up, you should have seen the comments, but
Oh my
it's
gosh.
very
Yeah.
probably very similar to your corgi videos.
Yeah. 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 That's
I'm
so.
glad you've seen it. I'm glad you liked the video. But you as a trainer and as an experienced person, you understand that there's nothing wrong there,
Yeah.
So
People get the socialization is another, and sorry if you want me to like not get super off topic, that's fine.
no, that's fine. Go
Like I
for
said, we're shoot from the hip here.
it.
Socialization is another big thing that people go fucking ham over, like in
Oh
the
my goodness.
section, like when you get on like TikTok and like Instagram and stuff like that. Like we had this video recently we posted of a German Shepherd, like just like kind of a skittish German Shepherd, like, and this like dogo like trying to play with the dog, and the dog had a muzzle on. It kind of like the dogo would go sniff him, and he would like kind of the German Shepherd would like chirp and kind of run away for a minute, and then like 3 minutes later, muzzles off, they're playing, like everything's good and stuff. People freaking out, like,
oh my goodness,
the dogo has no idea how to read cues, and it's going to be such a huge problem one day, and this and that. It's just. Dude, the climate online is just ridiculous when it comes to people just thinking they know these dogs from a 30-second clip more than the people that have spent like tons and tons of time with them.
I know, and it's so funny because it's typical amateur versus pro. Like it's like
Yeah.
you're a pro, you read the dog, you know what's going on, you socialize the dog for a living, right?
Yeah.
You know social cues for a living.
Yeah.
And then there are people that are just online that they don't do this for a living and they just tell you you're doing it wrong. It's very similar to someone watching a pro sport and saying, well, he shouldn't have done that. You think he didn't calculate that before he did it? It's crazy. It's just so nuts,
What's your, so like when it comes to socialization is such an interesting one because that's another one, just like with regular, you were talking about like tools and stuff like coming in and out as far as like popularity. Socialization methods, I feel like have kind of done the same thing where it started off as like 100% just like the dogs need to figure everything out on their own, right?
10 years ago, that would have been the 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah. Like let the older dog teach the younger dog and all this kind of stuff. Then it went to like, I remember when like, I think it was like maybe Chad Mackin or something like that started a lot of the like and Jason Visconti started a lot of the large group socialization where it's like 100% just advocate for everything, like any sign of stress, like step in, like don't let that dog do that, this and that. And then it's kind of slingshotted a little bit back towards, I think, like let the dogs figure it out with a little bit of guidance and advocation where needed. You know what I mean? Which is I think where it should be, obviously. But where was I going with that? I think it's interesting because the idea that we should be advocating for like every possible sign of stress never helps these dogs overcome some of the massive social hurdles they have. Like it's funny, like that video of the puppy, like you were talking about, like your dog pushed that dog out of its shell, right?
Yes.
Respectfully, not in like a crazy bad way or anything like that. But that puppy needed to have a dog that was going to help open them up. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And if we were constantly looking at, well, this puppy is shy and shut down right now and needs to be just like left alone for a little bit until it opens up on its own. In some cases, especially with dogs that are older and have issues like that, they'll never come out of their shell then at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I can think of tons and tons of dogs I've worked with. Like one in particular, there's this dog Piper back when I used to have a training facility in Columbus, and she would come to daycare. And every day for months, she would come to daycare and she would sit in the corner by herself, right? And anytime a dog would come near her, she would like grumble and growl a little bit, or maybe let out a little snap, right? Nothing crazy, but like she was clearly uncomfortable with it. And we would step in, we wouldn't let the other dogs go up to her, wouldn't let them go up to her, wouldn't let them go up to her. I remember one day I was like, this is ridiculous. I let a dog in that was like kind of like a pushy, annoying dog. And this dog went up to her, she grumbled, growled, snapped, right? He said, well, I'm just going to go back up to you again, and did that like 4 more times. Finally, she got up out of that corner and just moved away on her own, put herself into like a situation where there was like some more dogs around her, and then started playing, right? Wow. And it was like from that moment on, every time she came to daycare, she came in and immediately just started playing with other dogs.
Nice. That's interesting. Yeah, because
and she just needed that push out of her shell. And on top of that, I think sometimes with dogs that like growl and snap and stuff when they put themselves in their corner like that, they truly feel like they can't move away anymore, and they need to be pushed just enough to realize they can continue to move further, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's when we would, step in and then advocate once they kind of figure out a new cue and stuff. But I think stuff like that is so interesting. But so many people are like opposed to this idea of like dogs helping other dogs out of their shell in those types of cases.
Yeah. So I have a very similar stance to you. Like, I agree the industry started with a little too much recklessness, right? There's a lot of recklessness. They would always say, "Oh, let the dogs
Sure.
all sort it out," and then dogs would just get in big scraps, and then every dog
Yeah.
would have scars on their faces. And
Yeah.
if you had a really social dog, they would have had the war wounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a lot of the trainers that I used to know back then, they had their dogs that help with socialization, but they just had scars all over their faces. Then I think I agree. It became a lot of advocating, but then I think we were in a very dangerous part in this industry for a few years where no one socialized. Everyone did coexistence. I don't know if you
Sure.
remember that.
That's a good point too. Yeah, that just like everybody needs to just do place around each other kind of thing.
Exactly. It was
Yeah.
super dangerous. And I think everyone started doing that. They started saying, oh, your dog doesn't need to socialize.
Yeah.
Coexistence is socializing. Exposure is socializing, which I still
Yeah.
think is one of the worst things people can say, because I can go on the bus every day with someone and I could not talk to them for an entire year. And I would not know what it's like to talk to that person. And I may not even like this person if I talk to them. Like I'm
Yeah.
near them, I'm coexisting. I'm not actually making the effort to interact. But then
Yeah.
let's say a year later I interact and I go, whoa, I don't like this person at all. I should have just talked to them a year ago and figured this out a year ago,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And it's
go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead, Dave.
I was just gonna say I kind of want to dig into that a little bit because that's
Yeah.
interesting. So one, you were saying like obviously you said that was one of the more dangerous parts of
Yes.
dog training, which I agree with you, but I'm interested to hear why you think that obviously.
Yeah.
And then the idea of the coexistence is socialization, right? So I think I would agree with that to an extent, right? Like
Yeah.
I think that if we sit in this bubble of saying like we're only going to coexist forever and ever until the dog tells us they're ready to like move past it. Yeah, there are so many dogs that will never ever move past that point. The
Yeah.
one place where I would say that I do use and kind of say the coexistence is socialization is situations like dogs that have big time problems with guests
Oh, yeah.
being in the house, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, place is not the solution to everything by any means, but I think there's a lot of value to like if you could restart the relationship, if a dog is used to like being really defensive or territorial or nervous and stuff like that, when people come over the house, having them for like a couple of weeks, just like hold place when people are over or hold a bed stay while
Yes.
people are over. I do think there's something to be said about the dog seeing, smelling, hearing the person and not
Yes.
needing to react and be a part of it constantly. And I guess we would need to just define socialization then at that point, because I do think that's
Exactly.
an important step to move them to the next hurdle more successfully. You know what I mean?
Yes. So I actually 100% agree with you on that. So coexistence for a certain period until the dog is ready for socializing with humans, I actually
Sure.
100% agree with, because when you think about it, a lot of dogs meet humans in their house, right? Like guests
Yeah.
come over and your dog meets the stranger. And we have a couple aspects to work against. Like, what if the dog is already nervous of strangers, but then you're
Sure.
also working against the dog being defensive and territorial at home, put
Yeah.
together? It would,
Uh-huh.
I always look at it as it's the same as imagine doing a dog to dog introduction, but the first time you ever do it is the dog comes into your house to meet the dog. That
Sure.
would be chaotic and no one would even consider doing that, right?
Yeah.
Like you have a dog that's territorial, doesn't like dogs, and then your friend says, "Hey, why don't I just bring the dog right into your house and we can let them meet?"
Yeah.
Like I I have always found that interesting because that's what we do with a lot of strangers. And I do agree with it because the dog needs to learn to be polite at home when guests come over. But
Yeah.
sometimes when you're working with the territorial aspect too, you need to also
Yeah.
work on the coexistence for a while. So I actually 100% agree with you there. I just thought we were in a dangerous part of the industry when people were doing coexistence for socializing with dogs. Like they would never let their dogs interact with another dog. It would be nothing but coexistence.
Yeah.
People would actually go and say, "Oh, your dog doesn't need dog friends." And we would meet the
Yeah.
byproduct of these dogs and we would see so much frustration, so
Yeah.
much anxiety, and it's literally because the dog has this unknown idea of what another dog is,
Yeah.
and when you start
100%.
socializing you get it fixed.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially with a lot of these leash reactive dogs, like so many of them have just never, I mean, there's a reason why like 85% of like really dog reactive dogs you meet are actually highly social with other dogs. They've just
Exactly.
never ever interacted with another dog before. So it's such a foreign and novel thing to them when they do see other dogs,
Exactly.
So I do think
Exactly.
that stuff goes hand in hand, man. And it's also this concept of like, if you're only ever like asking your dog to like contain everything, right? Like contain it around other dogs, contain it around other people, contain it around environment, stuff like that. But you're never giving them that outlet to just like go, right? It's like you're creating this like bomb of energy
Oh
that
my
ultimately
goodness.
explode
Yeah,
towards that thing that you're focused on just trying to get your dog to coexist to, you know?
exactly. You
For
just
some
make an
dogs it'll
anxious
work, for
mess.
others it definitely will not work, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like,
Yeah.
and there are so many dogs, a lot of people are guilty of doing this. Dogs will be at a dog park or whatever, and then they'll make some friends, and then, they get into a scuffle at the dog park, and then the
Yeah.
owner says, "Oh my goodness, I'm not doing that ever again."
Sure, sure.
And then the dog's social life ends right there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the frustration skyrockets because they start seeing dogs and they start thinking, what the heck? I can't play with a single dog. Like, what's going on? And it just
Yeah.
ends, and then it goes on for years and years. And it's like humans having friends, and then boom, COVID happens, and then your friends are gone, and
Yeah.
or maybe you have some friends and they all move. Like, it's very difficult. So
Yeah.
I find a lot of people are doing this with their dogs nowadays, and it's really challenging.
What's your thoughts on COVID dogs? Because I think Canada was much more strict with like lockdowns and stuff like that. So you probably saw this even more so than we did. What's your opinion
Yes.
on COVID dogs, and more specifically the common thing we're hearing now, which is my dog is this way because of COVID and the lockdown?
Yeah, I honestly I hate when people say that.
Yeah.
I get it. You guys want to lean on an excuse,
Sure.
but whether COVID happened or not, same thing. You would have raised the dog the same. And I
Yeah.
always wanted people to know that because even after COVID came, we were always pretty busy. So when COVID hit, and then we saw the new dogs come in after COVID, I didn't really see much of a difference. I just saw a lot more lack of environmental exposure, but
Sure.
exposure to strangers and dogs, I thought the dogs were consistent. Maybe a little bit more nervous with humans and dogs, like a
Yeah.
tiny bit, but nothing one day of socializing couldn't fix.
Yeah.
So my opinion on COVID dogs is, when people say it, people need to be really realistic. Like, hey, like I got two dogs during COVID, they're
Sure.
fine. We know so many people that are fine during COVID. Did
Yeah.
COVID really mess the dog up, or was it the coddling, extreme affection, separation anxiety? Was it that? Like, that's my
Yeah.
opinion. What's yours?
Why I would completely agree with that. I like the way that you said that you would have raised the dog the same way, whether COVID happened or not, because I think that's true. The other side of things is, if anything, if that were true, I think that we should see less aggression issues. And the reason
I
for that
agree.
is I'm a big, big proponent. I don't know if proponent's the right word, whatever. That too much socialization is the cause of a lot of the problems that you have with your dog,
Agreed.
meaning way
Agreed.
too much going to the store and letting everybody pet your dog and letting your dog meet every dog while out on the walk and this and that, as far as creating those types of problems. So hypothetically, by doing all of those things less, your dog shouldn't be as wound up and worked up and fearful around people, or have learned that when they're fearful around people, that reacting makes them go away, because we never put them in that position to learn it to begin with, you know?
Exactly. No, that's so true. Like, you'd wonder, hey, if you weren't seeing any people or any dogs,
Yeah.
apparently, how did the dog develop so much aggression? Like,
Yeah.
it just
100%.
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I would say that's my general idea. And I do think that there's a lot of people that, were just home all the time and never created their dogs, and their dogs definitely developed issues with being left alone. Like, I do think that's something that we saw a decent amount of. But even that, like a lot of really serious like confinement anxiety and stuff like that, same deal is, I don't think so much due to like you being home all the time with the dog. Like, I think that can contribute to it and perpetuate it maybe. But I think a lot of that is kind of built into the dog. I think like a lot of these dogs we see, like when they're young, like they're going to have it or they're not going to have it, you know?
exactly. Exactly. You know what? If there's, I know you asked about the situation up in Canada. It was definitely pretty bad. Like, it was
Yeah.
rough, couldn't do anything. But I think a lot of the breeders that would pop up around here, like we have a lot of very new breeders that show up, but the
Sure.
cash grabs were crazy. We had Frenchies selling for like 10,000 US up
Yeah. Yeah.
here.
Uh-huh.
Bernedoodles, 10,000 US. Everyone was getting into the doodle breeding. We have this one doodle breeder that we've seen a ton of dogs from since COVID. Like, they just started cranking out 300-400 dogs a year at
Uh-huh.
10,000 a piece, like craziness.
Wow.
And those dogs were all a mess. So you know what? I do think breeding took a giant dive during COVID, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I think dog behavior has been consistent. Besides what you're talking about, confinement
Yeah.
anxiety has been pretty insane. Separation anxiety has been a lot worse. So yeah, I get that there.
Yeah. I'd for sure agree with that.
Yeah, good. Good. All right, we'll move on. So recently, I know you mentioned about the Shiba and the corgis you had, and a lot of difficult dogs you may have had recently. Are there any hard current situations you guys are dealing with, like a dog you have over?
I there's been a couple lately, that a lot of like to big picture this out, and then I'll kind of zoom in a little bit. We deal with a lot of inner household aggression issues, right?
Got it.
So dogs being aggressive towards their owners or towards a particular family member in the house, or fighting dogs, right?
Got it.
And I think that those forever will be the most challenging cases.
Oh, I
Just
agree.
because there's no way to really manage it. You know what I mean? Like if you have a dog that's being aggressive towards your owner, it's like you could isolate yourself, I guess, from the dog a little bit, but it's like you live with the dog. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna be with the dog all the time, right?
Yeah, you can't even take it out to the washroom. Like,
Yeah, so those are always the most challenging cases, and we've had a couple of them recently that have just been really hard. A couple of which, you know, we had the conversation with people, was this is just probably not a good fit for you. You know, I actually did an entire podcast episode recently on a couple of different cases that we dealt with. You know, just
Wow.
discuss like where and when do we start drawing the line of like behavioral euthanasia and things like that, right? Because it's such a hard topic to get into with owners for a lot of reasons, right? You know, everybody's different, everybody's situation is different, right? Those cases are definitely the hardest. And then, you know, on top of that, I think like when you start getting into some of your like true like 1% reactivity cases,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
those can always be hard. I mean, reactivity is like the number one behavioral issue that we get dogs in for, I would say. And I think most trainers probably see that. And there are just some of them, like when you get into the ones that like aren't just like barking and making a lot of noise, but just truly like out of their
Like lost it.
mind,
Yeah.
lost it. And again, not even in like an aggressive way necessarily, but they just get in such a tizzy that there's just no breaking that ice through to them. Those can be really, really challenging situations as well.
Yeah.
So those ones I think make you think outside of the box quite a bit, you know.
Yeah.
But like I said, I would say the hardest ones are definitely the inner household aggression issue ones.
Yeah,
right?
like aggression towards owner, handler. Yeah.
Yeah, towards owners
Complicated.
particularly. You know, fighting dogs in the house are very hard as well, but those are a little
I
easier
agree.
to manage sometimes. Like people ultimately can lean back on crate and rotate if they need to, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and fighting dogs in particular, we work with a lot of those as well because we've actually had very good success with it. I personally dealt with fighting dogs in my house. So my two pitties, my wife's pitty and my pitty, literally like almost killed each other twice.
Oh my goodness.
Like horrendous dog fights. And they always happened when I wasn't home, right? It was when my wife was alone with the dogs, right?
Yeah.
Figure out a solution for that because like it was just like getting rid of one of the dogs was just like not an option for me, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So ultimately we got to the bottom. I mean, they're downstairs with my wife just chilling right now. They have a great relationship now, but that was a really challenging thing to get past also. So that kind of stuff, I would lean back on those types of things that are always the hardest.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I 100% agree with you. And that's obviously, I can tell it's because you have experience and you know what the really difficult stuff is. The 1% reactors, yeah, they're always hard. You have to be so creative. You have to do a full out rehab for them to fix everything.
Yeah.
You have to work on everything outside of the leash walking, and then you have to work on the leash walking every day. Like it is hard. Now, I was wondering, are there any specific breeds that are associated with these behaviors that you often see? Because for us, I'd say yeah.
Yeah. So I think with reactivity, German Shepherds are very high on the list.
Yes.
I think German Shepherds are a breed that, one, they could be just defensive and territorial in general, but two, they are one of those breeds that do not handle restraint well, right? And when you look at like leash reactivity being one of the number one causes, or the restraint being one of the number one causes of leash reactivity, constantly holding back, that is a breed that just like ignites from it, you know?
Yeah.
So those can get out of hand real quick. And then tack onto that, they're just a very vocal dog to begin with, usually, you know? They could look extremely scary and extremely intimidating. A lot of the pitties that we'll see have a decent amount of leash reactivity. It's again, it's like, to not get too crazy with breeds. It's like some of them are just like the sweetest, calmest dogs you'll ever meet. Some of them are, again, not aggressive, but they just internalize all of their arousal and just explode it onto things, right?
Oh yeah.
That drive that they have is just like so intense sometimes. So I would say them as well as another common one. I would say those are the two big ones. But honestly, like every dog we see come in with some extent of leash reactivity. But those are usually the harder. Rottweilers, another big one.
I was gonna say, yeah, for us it's Shepherd's Rotties. In the 1%, Shepherd's Rotties. Now, do you have Rotties go after bikes and buses often? Bikes, scooters, all those things?
Yeah, I guess I would say so. I don't know if I've never necessarily seen a correlation between specifically towards those things, but I find that they're just reactive in general to stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And when they get crazy, they're crazy. And when you have like a working line shepherd that was raised
Yeah.
just leash walking all the time, and they channel on dogs, it's hard. Oh man.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable sharing things you've had to do or things you've had to do to be creative to fix a lot of these cases, or
Oh yeah.
maybe even one specific? Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead, man.
Yeah, for
Go ahead.
sure. Well, a couple that I could think of. I mean, and this is where you get into like the taboo side of things, right? Because
Yeah,
it's like, you know, obviously, counter conditioning their response to things and like, creating good engagement and stuff like that is important. But I am a pretty big proponent that if you truly want to stop some of that kind of stuff, you've got to find a way to punish the behavior still,
yeah,
right? And there are a lot of cases where like e-collars will work fine, for dogs like that. And you
yeah.
could read their attention off with an e-collar. I think when you get into the really, really intense cases, it tends to just amplify it quite a bit, like you can get
Yeah,
higher corrections with e-collar and it just drives them through the roof, right?
yes.
They're like pain threshold just like goes through the roof. I would say that the two biggest things that we've seen for like the really reactive dogs is either one, the most taboo tool of them all, the bonker is very, very effective at times.
I agree. I agree.
One of the Rotties in particular I could think of, like we tried everything with this dog. This dog did a full board and train with us, ton of one-on-one lessons after the board and train. We just couldn't get a handle on it. And I remember one day I was like, I'm going to try the bonker with this dog. And I did it. And I think I bonked him twice and that was it. He was a fucking angel after that. And like his owner, like the sweetest lady in the world, like she was like singing our praises after that because she could finally like take this dog and go have a picnic with him and like do all this stuff. And all she needed to do is just take a bonker with her. She hardly ever needed to actually use it. But that is such an unbelievable tool for it. And I think the idea behind it is you have tools that either stop things because of like pain and discomfort, right? If we're going to be very black and white about it, right?
Yeah.
Or tools that startle and scare, right?
Yeah.
And some dogs like, pain threshold to things, like I said, just gets so high that no amount of discomfort is going to stop them from rehearsing things, but they're so mentally sensitive in that moment that if something startles them in that moment, right? That's why they react in the first place. Like, oh my God, there's a dog. Whoa, if something startles them in that moment, it can just shift their attention so easily away from it. And I think that's why that tool is so effective. Another one in particular, and then we could dive into any of that if you want to, obviously. Another one that just, it was funny. I was talking to one of my trainers just earlier this morning. She's probably my most experienced trainer I have. She's got about the same experience as I do. She worked for another company for a very long time. And I wound up kind of coaching her from. She's always been a big proponent of, with some of these really psycho, like reactive cases, like dominant dog collars to help reduce arousal. And I, for whatever reason, getting into like one of your questions you said is like, where are you learning and growing and stuff like that, right? I, for whatever reason, was like just like so against this tool for a while. I don't know why. It just seemed like, why do I need this, right? Like I honestly don't know what it was. It's no different than how trainers take flexi leads, right? Like, it's like, why do I need this tool? It doesn't make sense. I don't understand why it would work. It seems very difficult to give an effective correction with it and this and that. And I watched her and one of her other trainers have some pretty good success with it with a couple of different cases. And I had this dog, Bucky, that we've been working with. That's another one of those dogs that just loses his mind on stuff, like just goes absolutely batshit crazy, psycho, like freaking out. And owners were struggling with him, and we started implementing that just a couple weeks ago, actually. And the owners are just, I mean, he's still crazy, right? But like, he's not lunging at stuff anymore. The owners are able to manage him so effectively, like with that tool now at this point. We're able to, for like the first time, go take him and like have pizza on a patio, like at like a local place or something like that, just like a week ago or something like that. And that wound up being a really phenomenal tool for it also. I think for some of your more sensitive dogs, I've seen some cases where pet correctors are like the magic tool also. Same concept is a tool that kind of startles, and kind of, because sometimes all you need to do is just like snap them out of it for a minute,
Exactly.
So things like that I find are sometimes with those really hard reactivity cases the most effective. And then one thing I'll add on top of that is the common philosophy of like teaching a really good, strict, tight heel position, I think is just kind of BS when it comes to working through those types of issues. I think a lot of people talk about physical restraint. Not a lot of people talk about mental restraint, right? So physical restraint, obviously you're holding the dog back. We need to obviously get that out of the system, right? So the dog isn't feeling like they're, need to drive into this pressure to get towards something. But the more strict of parameters we're putting on this dog, the harder it's ultimately going to be for the dog to be successful and not feel super restrained. So, we don't even teach a heel position to begin with. We teach like more of like a loose come, which is like kind of like a stay in the bubble kind of idea. And one thing to do with a lot of these reactive dogs is it's not a loose leash walk, but like we'll loosen up those parameters to like the dog needs to be with me, right? Like not just loose on the leash, because that would mean if they're on a 50-foot leash, they could be 50 feet away from me, which obviously isn't the case. They need to be actively in my bubble. And I usually will put a longer leash on the dog, or in some cases, I'll use like a flexi lead, and I will only correct if the dog truly commits to leaving me, right? So you could see like sometimes like when the dog is forging ahead a little bit and they're thinking about making the mistake, but they haven't quite made it yet. And then you'll see that switch where they finally decide, okay, I'm going to pull off towards that tree, right? Or, okay, I'm going to pull off towards that dog or that person or whatever. And loosening up the parameters of the walk of what we're expecting of them, and then being more firm or more strict on those looser parameters, I found helps keep the dogs more successful, and then helps them to take that correction and actually know what to do with it from there, because it was for a more clear mistake, where I don't think a lot of these dogs, especially when they're fixated on something, know that they're fucking 6 inches ahead of you or 8. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's say all of those things together. Yeah.
Got it. So we actually do teach it's funny, like, because I respect you as a trainer and I think all your ideas are great. We actually do teach a tighter position on a heel. I jumped back and forth on this throughout my career, and I actually did a loose leash walk for a while. But what we do is we actually have looser positions for a lot of those really wiry dogs, really messy dogs. But we often teach a tighter, strict heel for many reasons. But a lot of these clients, we tell them the walk is not the best option for you. We always tell them off leash all the time. Walk should be secondary, third, fourth exercise. And that's for us, that's what we get in success with them. For the tighter heel, I've always found that if the dog isn't carrying too much frustration, it's great. But for a lot of dogs, when they are really crazy, we try to deal with that issue first before we work on their heel. But good. I'm glad you brought that up. It's something I love talking about.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with a tight heel, obviously, right? Like absolutely nothing wrong with it. And I think a lot of people, like, it's hard until you see it to like understand. Like, so the dog, if you were to watch the dogs walking with us, it would look like they're in a heel position, right? Like they wind up there anyways, kind of thing. It's just that the line in which we draw on where we give the correction for it, like I said, it's just like we're going to kind of get there still, but the parameters in which we correct the dog for non-compliance of that command are a little bit looser. But I get what you're saying. But it's definitely not. I always tell everybody, because, and I don't necessarily think you're thinking this, but it's definitely not a loose leash walk, right? Like I think a lot of people, when I explain it to them, they think the dog is just like wherever the fuck they want to be, as long as they're not pulling on like a 6 or 7 foot leash, It's absolutely not that, because like I said, if that were the case, like I don't like the idea of a loose leash walk, because if that were the case, as you lengthen that leash, right, hypothetically, the dog doesn't need to be with you still. And you could that thing out as long as you want. And you're saying then at that point that as long as the dog isn't pulling, like they could do whatever they want to do, which isn't the case,
Yes.
I look at leash walking more about attention than I do a specific position, right?
Exactly.
So, and what is a heel position? A heel position generally, I feel like, is kind of derived from the easiest place for the dog to see where you're at. You know what I mean? Which is why a lot of times it's like nose in line with your legs. So like you're right in their peripheral vision and stuff like that. And as you start correcting for like just lack of attention, then at that point, I find they organically know how to go there.
I agree.
They kind of just put themselves there. So yeah, like I said, I mean, different philosophies. Everybody's got their own spin on things, obviously, but
you know what? I'm actually glad you brought that up too, because one of the reasons we do teach a heel, and we've came to this philosophy over time, and I know our position looks very similar to yours. I find that when you give a client the expectation of a looser position, a client will do 45% to 70% of what you tell them. And we want to push them to the higher end as much as possible. So we've always found when we teach a client a general tight heel position, they always somehow turn it into a bit more of a loose heel position. And that's why we started teaching them that. So I think we have the same expectation, which is good. And I had to figure this out one day. I'm like, I'm doing this loose leash thing. They've turned it into a freaking 20 feet ahead somehow. The dog is sniffing, zigzagging and everything, just zoned out. So then when we started telling them to do a heel, now we have a nicer picture of a normal loose leash walk, which we're like, okay, we could deal with this. And we always want to work on our teaching skills being as simple as possible and as sustainable as possible. And I found for us that works. But yeah, this is, I love talking about this stuff. Yeah. Because
Yeah,
we're
and
talking about dog success and also client success,
it's
client understanding and sustainability.
100%, right? And like we look at it from the similar light of like when we were teaching like heel positions and stuff like that here, we would get a lot of clients that were just like, I don't care if my dog is on my left hand side, right? I just don't want him to pull me around, right?
Yeah.
So trying to create so it's the same idea. Instead of me expecting the client is going to like kind of do less of it, I'm going to hold the client to a higher standard with those looser parameters, right? So if I
Good.
tell you that we're only correcting this dog if they committedly leave the position, then at that point, like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like you're going to have to do it that way and enforce it in that type of fashion, you know? But I get what
Exactly.
you're I like I said, I think you know, and there are some cases still that we get in that owners do want a tight heel position. Like we'll get them come in, they're like, no, like I want my dog on the left hand side with me, and like you know, sometimes I'll be like, well, why, right? Like
Yeah.
I'll
No, that's a great
the question
question.
like
Yeah.
you know, like why do you want them to be that way? And sometimes they just want it, and if I don't see any reason why it would be detrimental to the dog's success with things, meaning they're not one of those crazy like wiry high strung dogs or something like that. It's like, all right, I'll show you how to do it. Like I don't care.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. I find those people are very particular. Like they want their dog to
Yeah,
be perfect all the time,
yeah,
like perfect place command, able to hold. Yeah. We've met a lot of those too.
yeah,
Good. Good. I'll go to a couple more questions. Um, It's great talking to you, David. Like, you've
yeah.
got a
Dude,
lot of good
awesome.
insight on everything. So what would you say right now, like some changes? We've already talked about changes in the industry, but how would you say the industry is different now as opposed to when you started? Because the industry has changed, I think, a lot. I started in '09.
Mhm.
Things are so different. I think they are for the better, but I do want to hear your opinion.
So there's like a spectrum, I think, that over the years that I've seen where training has shifted from being owner centric to dog centric to owner centric to dog centric. And
Yes.
it's never really found like a happy medium of being owner and dog centric, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's where a lot of this like polarized, force free, balance training kind of conversations and stuff come into play. Is if we want to break down like philosophies, you know, you could look at like a force free approach of being totally dog centric. Like we are doing all of this for the dog, right? We're doing all this to try to reduce stress and make the dog happy and make them feel comfortable and confident and stuff like that. And then if you look at a lot of like traditional balance trainers, they are or whatever you want to call them, compulsion trainers or this or that. A lot of them are centered around like the dog is here to make our lives better, so they have to be compliant to us, and we don't really care what they think about it, right?
Yep.
And um, obviously, those two things are very at odds with each other, right?
Yeah.
And at that black and white conversation, I don't think there's really a solution for getting them to like meet in the middle with things. Where
Yeah. It's very
I
difficult.
really, I have always tried to kind of sit in the middle with it. You know,
Yeah.
like I do think that you know I personally didn't get a dog to create tons and tons of work for myself, right? So I want my training approach to be something that's going to be easy and sustainable, but I love and care about my dogs and I
Exactly.
got them because I love and care about them. So I do have to make sure I'm still fulfilling them and
Yes.
providing like the things that they need emotionally, in addition to making sure that they're going to fit in my lifestyle. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
that that's kind of the problem is we've never met in the middle with that. And I think that's the biggest issue in the dog world currently.
Got it. Yeah, honestly, I 100% agree with you. Like, I think right now we're in a very interesting space right now because force free is over time becoming a little bit more washed out. I mean, there's still so much business in the force free industry, especially where we are. Force free trainers still do better than any balanced trainer. Like,
Really?
they have multiple franchises everywhere, like where we are. I don't know about where you guys are, but um, when it comes to balance training, I also think nowadays we have a very strange mix showing up. Like I know a lot of people are taking Ivan's courses,
Yep.
and I have my own take on this. Like I do love the IGP world. I'm involved myself. I think all the trainers are super skilled. I've learned a lot of my pet training skills through these people, especially the ones that have been in the industry like 30, 40 years that really know all the intricate little solutions. Now, nowadays, I feel like everyone's becoming very play focused and they're becoming play based trainers. And then I'm also seeing
Yeah.
so much of the Lima type balance trainers.
Yeah.
And people are now calling themselves reward based balance trainers. And then, me and you are having a conversation about a bonker, which I
Yeah.
think is
Yeah.
I think it is such an important tool sometimes,
Yeah.
having a physical correction on a dog sometimes for the shock factor. can
Yeah.
sometimes be the only solution. But then all these Lima trainers would say, oh, there are many other situations, but they haven't
Yeah. Yeah.
seen serious stuff, you know? So what I'm always thinking is, you know what, there is a place for the balanced trainer. If most balanced trainers were generally nice to the dog and thought about the dog and the human at the same
Yeah.
time, but also did what was necessary for
Yeah.
everyone to succeed. I think that's so important. But I do think nowadays the reward-based balance trainers, which I'm seeing a lot of up here. I don't know about how they are down there, but seeing a lot of them down there, I think that's helping create this really bad shift again that I think may show up soon.
Yeah, I got a lot of flack a while ago because I made this podcast episode a year and a half ago, something like that, where I thought I was being pretty respectful about it, but like
Yeah.
I was kind of talking about some of my issues with like Larry Crone, for example, who I
Oh,
think is a
I have a
phenomenal.
lot of issues with him. I have a ton.
I've got a lot of respect for the guy, right?
Yeah.
He's a great name for himself and he is a good trainer, but like he has just over the years gotten so
Polarizing.
and polarizing
Oh my
over
God, yeah.
trainers. And if you like correct a dog, it's like, which I know he does, it's like suddenly you're the worst person in the world.
I know.
And I kind of brought that up and just based on some like post that he made and was like, you know, like I just feel like it's doing more harm than good. It's almost like pandering to the like everything we do, like we're the nice balanced trainer. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Which is just like not like you could be a nice balanced trainer and still correct a dog if they're performing a very dangerous behavior with a bonk, right? Or
Exactly.
like any of those types of things. And I think a lot of trainers have kind of followed suit with that, where now, like with the e-collar, for example, like Ivan's big thing he's pushing against is this low-level e-collar stuff, right?
Yes.
Everybody's talking about the e-collar is just like, it's not an aversive tool and this and
Oh
that.
my goodness.
Like
That's ridiculous.
it's just a little ridiculous, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a lot of the issue that I see right now is that, yeah, you're kind of falling into that camp of balance trainers now, which is doing more harm than good when it comes to pushing against, you know, some of the force-free agenda. Because I listened to, and I did a whole like podcast series on like the whole like Zach George versus like Ivan and Robert, and all that kind of stuff. And I was kind of like covering it in real time. And it was just like funny because like when I listened to like Robert Cabrill's like argument, like when he tried to make his video argument back to him, like I was able to just like pick apart his argument because he was being so contradictory of himself, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Which again, like another person I got a lot of respect for. You're a great trainer, dude, but it's like he's trying to argue like with this person using false logic to make himself sound nicer, you know?
Yeah, I know. And it's, I gotta say that if there's one thing I hate, it's when people, oh, the e-collar is a tens machine. The e-collar is you can just use it at low levels, vibrate, all this stuff. Like I hate when people talk about it. I think it ruins the use of the e-collar. We always tell people use it high if you need to, so you don't need to press that button again. Your main goal is you never need to be pressing that button. And we see, I can't even tell you the amount of dogs we see that come in neurotic due to low level stim charging up the dog every single day for bad behaviors and building power. And we see it all the time. And I hate the narrative. Like it's like, guys, the tool is there, use it. If e-collars make dogs neurotic, the chance of them being banned is so much higher. Like use it and have a good relationship with your dog and don't be pressing that button. Like use it when you need to.
And I think trainers, like particularly newer trainers, like they just need to start being more critical of their mentors. I think like there's so like, again, all these people I'm talking about, Ivan, somebody I have so much respect for. It's unbelievable. Like he is an unbelievable next level trainer. Obvious.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, he is like cerebral in his approach, knows everything, super intelligent.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I mean, like he's way smarter than I am, right? Like obviously, like way smarter than I am. But again, like he's been doing a lot of these podcasts with force-free trainers now, which is awesome, right? The conversations are great. I've enjoyed listening to them. But then I listened to some of his arguments that he's had, and I was even just thinking this the other day because I listened to his most recent one with Joe something or whatever. But I'm listening to it and it's like he's only talking from the lens of sports. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Right. And I'm sure the guy has trained a gazillion pet dogs before, but that's not his specialty, right?
Yes.
That's not what he's doing every single day. Like I'd be interested to hear in the last 2 months, how many pet dogs has he truly trained start to finish? Helped owners overcome hurdles, right?
Exactly.
Because you do have to be. That's why I like when you ask, like, am I still actually working with dogs actively? Like, I can't see myself ever not actively working with clients. I don't want to get disconnected from that, you know?
Yeah.
Disconnected from like when I hear, dude, like, and you've seen this, I'm sure, a million times, right? Like when people literally cry in front of you because of how horrible their relationship is with their dog, or they have a dog that's literally trying to like one of the clients of the inner household aggression, dog trying to literally maul their husband in the house.
Oh my goodness.
Like when you experience those types of things, like I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. Like
Yeah.
when you experience those types of things, and you have to have those conversations with people, right? About how to either fix those problems or work through it or help them and stuff like that. It's really hard to not look at the people that are just like, you don't care about the dog because you corrected that dog. You don't care about the, emotional state of them and this and that, whether it's from the balanced trainers, right? Or from the force-free trainers, and
Agreed.
be like, you have no fucking clue. Like you literally like, do you want to like come take this dog and just live with this dog and like do your fucking approach with it? Because I guarantee you, when that dog tries to attack your kid or tries to attack your fucking husband or your other dog in the house or something like that, like your opinion is going to change real fucking quick, right?
I know, and
And
I agree with you too.
yeah.
Like I don't think I would ever be detached from dogs. Like I still work all the dogs here with my staff every day because I need to know what's going on. I need to know what's going on in the industry. I need to know if the clients, I need to know if the dogs are changing. Like, are things changing with time? And yeah, things have changed. So I can't get disconnected because I agree with you. I don't know if Ivan has directly, and I don't know, like he might have, I don't know if he has directly worked with pet dogs, owners struggling, serious situations, start to finish actively. And I don't know if he's been doing that in the last few years. His staff maybe, but he might be a little disconnected.
And like I said, like this is by no means, like I said, I fucking love the guy. Like I listen to all the podcasts. Like I'm a big fan of his. Like I've been trying so hard to get that dude on my podcast. I sent him a couple of messages about it and stuff like that. Like I really have so much respect for him. But the point I was trying to make is just like people need to just be more critical of looking at the people that they're looking up to and holding on this pedestal and understanding. One thing I think I learned really early in my career, because I did a lot of like phone consults and this and that, and just made really good connections in the industry, is all these people that have these massive followings are having the same exact issues as you're having.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like I guarantee every one of these situations I've run into with clients of like whether things going really well or really poorly, because everybody has those stories of like dogs that it did not work out, right? They've experienced all those types of things. It's just you choose what you want to highlight where, and that's like my motto, whatever, is I'm just really trying to be like as real as possible with the content we're putting out. Like I talk about all of the bad stuff. I talk about the fact that my dogs got in horrendous fights with each other. I had a German Shepherd that I behaviorally euthanized because he tried to attack my wife.
Oh wow.
Like I've dealt with all this stuff myself, and I deal with stuff with my clients on a daily basis, and we talk about that stuff and we put it out there so people can hear and not feel like some of these trainers that just talk about like I've got all the answers, right?
Exactly.
It's like there are just like some cases that are either really hard, right?
Oh my goodness,
or just situations that this just isn't a good fit, or like any of those types of things. You know what I mean?
I agree, yeah.
So there's just so much to it, you know?
Yeah, and like I don't know if you guys have done this before, but I imagine you must have. Do you ever do any surrenders and rehomes yourself?
Like meaning like do I take clients' dogs and then try to rehome them?
Yeah, like we rarely do this, but yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Here's the problem with that, right? And are you in any sort of rush right now? Are we on like
I've got a bit of time. Yeah. You got
a little bit of time? Cool. Because I'm in
what
no
about
rush
you?
right now. I'm in no rush. Yeah, cool. Because this is a good conversation. So the problem that I look at is that most people that want to rehome their dog are rehoming their dog because the dog is biting people. In most cases, right? Obviously, there are other exceptions where it's just like, whatever, somebody's moving to an apartment and can't take a dog, or you get those every now and then. But the majority of the time, people are rehoming dogs because of really serious or just moderate aggression issues towards either their dogs in their house or people, right? And I'm a pretty big proponent that rehoming any dog that is a bite risk is a horrendous idea. Right. I think that most dogs are biting out of obviously fear, anxiety, right? Maybe just dominance in some cases, but like, most of the time it's because they live in an unstable household. And what we're saying is that an owner that has a dog that they probably love quite a bit, but can't handle this dog, is going to take this dog, put it into a new situation, which is going to perpetuate the aggression issues that they're already experiencing with a family that doesn't have a relationship with the dog yet and doesn't love the dog yet, who's going to have a way, way lower tolerance for those aggression issues, is going to ultimately be the one to just put that dog down. And I would rather myself be the person to do it ethically with a dog that I love and be there with them in their last moments than have to go through that cycle and just delay the inevitable. People just aren't looking for a project. You know what I mean? Yeah. And in most cases, when you're rehoming dogs, that dog is going to be a project for somebody.
Oh, definitely. Like, the reason I bring this up is I think in the industry right now, that's probably the riskiest, most dangerous thing to do. We've done it a few times when COVID started. And this year, I'll tell you about the stories we have. We had one client, friend of a friend, and the guy has brain cancer, the owner. So he was gonna put his dog down. I met the dog and I was like, oh man, why is my heart bleeding right now? Why is my heart bleeding? 7-year-old German Shepherd, like not a very good dog. We took him in for rehab. He's been here a few months. We had another German Shepherd owner, also friend of a friend, dying of brain cancer as well. Different situation. 2 different German Shepherds. One's 6 months old. The other one's 7 years old. We took both of these dogs in, and then we had another dog that's related to my lab's nephew with some just bratty aggression issues. I don't think he's too difficult. Also, I was like, oh man, this dog's related to my dog. I don't do this. Why am I doing this right now? I don't ever do
We're
this.
all guilty of it.
I was like, fine, give him to me. I'll find him a home. We did rehome the one younger Shepherd last week. We just spent 2 months on him. He was young, so he did completely change. Which is good. He had a lot of just defensive behavior, but it was due to being nervous. He's changed. Now, the reason I wanted to talk to you about this is I unfortunately have had to take a few of these dogs in and put them down myself because I thought I can't put this dog in another home. They'll kill someone. I was like confident they'll kill someone. So I had to put them down. These dogs, I'm a little worried about the 7-year-old. Like, I don't know what's going to end up happening with him. I've been trying. I've been working with him. He's still a little sketchy. Now, the young Shepherd hopefully will succeed. The lab I told you about hopefully can find him a home too. But this is one of those things in the industry that I wanted your opinion on because, and I think we have the same opinion. I think it's very dangerous. I don't want to do it, but sometimes even we crumble. So yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, you know. I mean, like we have a lot of like rescues and stuff we work with around the area that we have phenomenal relationships with that will help them with dogs that they have, you know. But my big stipulations are always it can't be a bite risk, right? Like I'll help you with just a difficult dog, right? And 2, like I'm not in the business of finding owners for dogs. I'm in the business of helping train dogs. And the other big thing too with training is like we all know that training is not this thing that you just put on a dog and then they're a trained dog. It's not like I take in this rescue for rehabilitation, right? And then I train that dog and suddenly they're just great. And you could hand them to anybody and they're just going to be great. Like dogs are opportunists, right? Everything is relationship based, right? There's a reason why my dog behaves amazingly for me, but then if I go out of town and leave them with my parents, that they do what the fuck they want to do for a week. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like it's just it just doesn't exactly work that way. So we always say, like, if we're going to take a dog in from a rescue, for example, right? Can't be a bite risk. We'll train the dog. You guys have to have a long-term foster immediately post-training that's going to be able to come to these classes and maintain all the training.
Very nice.
That way it's not going out the window, right? And we offer them a great discount. We offer a 50% rescue rate. Like we help out our rescue, right? But you got to have somebody that this dog is going to go to, obviously. And then it's up to you guys to find the home for it. Right.
Yeah.
It will help, you know, transfer the training once you do find somebody, obviously. But that responsibility is in your hands because you guys are in the business of finding homes for dogs, not us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's challenging, but it's something we don't do. It just, ridiculous. It happens. Okay. I have a couple more questions actually. So the average owner, because I know in a training business, you have your average problem, you know, like standard problems that come in. Usually it's some leash reactivity, leash pulling, unable to settle, like just general issues. What should the average dog owner, like any type of dog, what should they master? What should they really get good at so they have a good relationship with their dog long term?
I think the answer to that question in a lot of cases is the opposite of what you're asking, which is what should owners not do with their dog? They want to have a good life with them. You know what I mean?
That's my next question. Yeah.
Yeah, because we could say like train the dog, get off leash reliability, have a good recall, this, that, like those are all important things, right? But more specifically, most people run into problems because they're trying to fit their dog into a box that their dog doesn't want to fit into. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yes, again, I'm a believer that, just because a dog is a little fearful of people doesn't mean we should isolate them from it forever. If they don't get along with other dogs, that we should isolate them from dogs forever. Like, I think we should work past those things. But as we're working past those things, we could do less and stop trying to force the dog into those situations. Like, if your dog doesn't like people that come over the house, until you have like good trainer direction on how to solve that problem, just put the dog away when people come over the house.
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly.
If your dog doesn't like other dogs, quit trying to have your dog meet other dogs while you're out on the walk. Right. All of those types of things will at least put you in a position, like back to the COVID conversation of like things should have been better over COVID. Like, less is more. Like, if you do those things less and you understand who your dog is, and just eliminate your dog's ability to rehearse some of these unwanted behaviors so much, and not put anybody or any dogs at risk with things, you're going to reduce a lot of stress, and then just becoming okay with that. Right. Because sometimes we could look at like who our dog is and we could say like, I'm mad that my dog is this way instead of this way, but this is the dog you have. And you need to accept, no different than I'd accept who Vinny was, right? My Malinois, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately help him to overcome those hurdles by being okay with some of the hurdles that he had. You need to accept the same thing with your dogs. And then the other big thing too is people need to really understand how to tell their dog when they're doing something that they don't want them to do more clearly. There's so many indirect ways people try to do it, and they're yelling at dogs and doing this and doing that and trying to redirect always and this and that, where if we just learned how to actually give our dog a consequence for something, I also think that 99.9% of problems would go away. If people realize like, I can just correct my dog in this clear, non-emotional way for jumping on my guests that come over the house, like there's some cases people hire us for training that I'm just like, you literally could have solved this problem in 5 minutes, right? I'm happy to help, right? But this isn't that big of a deal, Yeah. I think it's just a lot of the information that's being thrown out there that's pushing people away from that.
I agree. And that's where again, I have the issue with the more reward-based balanced trainers. Like, they'll go towards a lot of things before they go to the correction. And I find like, I don't know, a common issue is guests come over, dog flips out. They would work on, get the dog to sit and reward, all these things. But sometimes the dog just needs a line pop downwards. Hey, don't go up. And then a lot of these things do get fixed. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. If people learned how to efficiently, effectively, at the right time, tell their dog to stop doing something, and the dog understood it, you're right, a lot of problems will be gone forever and ever and ever. All right, I think you answered my other question too. Let's see, any other misconceptions you think are going on in the industry right now, or just with dogs in general? The TikTok one was pretty important. You talked about it earlier, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Again, all this comes back to just understanding who No, I would say, and this is kind of a common theme we've talked about here so far a little bit, is just understanding what training actually is, right? Training, again, is not about me fixing your dog, right? It has nothing to do with me fixing your dog. Training has to do with me helping you understand who your dog is and what your dog needs from you in order to thrive, right? And it really is a two-way street. And everybody says that, right? Like, I think trainers all know that, but people don't put it out like that because there's so much talk of, like I said before, I used the word like rehabilitation. And sometimes I like put that word in quotation marks because rehabilitation implies, I think, that like the dog is coming to us for us to fix the dog, right? Or to make the dog not this way, which is just, that's not the case, right? You're not going to change who a dog is by their nature. But in some people, I say that, and they kind of get a little depressed and like lose hope of like, well, I'm not going to be able to. But that's not the case, right? You're not going to change who they are. But if you understand them better and what they need to make those problem behaviors not problem behaviors anymore, you could still live a very harmonious life with your dog,
Yeah, they'll be so much happier.
Trainers need to be a lot more open about that, of like what training actually can provide and how, what is our job in order to help you in this equation,
Yeah. And the one thing we always tell people in our classes is we always tell them, you're going to be so happy that we taught you how to do this all yourself.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, like, you're gonna be so happy when you figure out you did this all on your own. I just gave you guidance, but you did this all on your own. And people are really happy about that, because that is really what you're doing, like, and that's one of the challenges with a board and train, because when you do a board and train, you guys do board and trains, right?
Yeah.
What's your primary service? Is it a board and train?
We offer two training programs. We offer
Okay.
a 4-week board and train program, and we offer a 10-session one-on-one program. So
That's great.
those are the only two programs we offer, because I always say, like, if we're going to train the dog, we're going to train the dog, right? I don't want to, like, a la carte, let's work on this, let's work on that. Let me give you a cheaper group class option, this and that. And again, no offense to anybody that does those things. Like, you might do those things, obviously. But I want to provide absolute complete support for my clients when they come in, and I don't want to give them an option to do anything other than me giving you absolute complete support, right?
And those are, through the years, you've decided those are the best programs that someone can pick, right? Like, you've narrowed it down to the two.
Yeah. I mean, I used to do all sorts of other ones. I mean, I used to offer a 4-session program, a 7-session program, a 3-week board and train, you know what I mean? Like, all those types of things. I found those are kind of the sweet spots, where, like, 10 sessions for most dogs is more than enough time for me to get to the bottom of your goals. In some cases, it might be even a little too much, but even if it's a little too much, right? Then you got a session you could save for later if you need it.
Good. Yeah. And you really get to just drill that into their head. Like,
100%, right? Like, 10 weeks is a long time for me to spend with an owner, where I could really help them overcome a lot of the hurdles that they're having. And then, 4 weeks, I think, is the sweet spot. Like, sure, in a perfect world, would we get 6 week with dogs? Like, but I don't really want to care for, I think you start getting into boarding trains, like, you got a dog in your kennel for 6 weeks. Like, that's a long time for some dogs,
long.
But shorter than 4 weeks, I think you're just rushing things a little too much sometimes.
Agreed.
Some dogs, great. Like, when we did 3 weeks, like, some dogs did fine with 3 weeks, but others, it's like, God, I just really wish I had just a little bit more time with them, kind of thing, And then with the board and train, for example, I explain the board and train to people so that they don't get it in their head that it's like the quick fix. I always say the board and train, while the dog is with us, it's for us to teach the dog the skills and the language that they're going to need for you to communicate with them. But then I need to teach you the language and the skills you're going to need in order to communicate with them. And I always thought everybody, like, generally we spend, I would say, 5 to 6 hours of time with owners post board and train to get them, like, as much knowledge as they need to like, be successful with that training. And in some cases more than that, I mean, like I said, like that Rottweiler, for example, like, that dog was struggling post board train. Like, he really wasn't doing too great, and we had to get to the bottom of, like, a solution for it. But because I'm asking for such a big upfront commitment from our clients, I'm okay with spending as much time as I need to with them post that training program to help them get the results we need. Because on the contrary, we'll get some clients that we do 2 sessions with them post board and train, and things are great. Like, they're rocking and rolling, and there's not any big problems. And if they need a session down the road to come back in for a brush up, like, that's cool, but it all kind of evens out in the end,
Good. Yeah. And that's why I brought this up too, because I love when trainers do both. You live with the dog, you work with the client. You live with the dog, you work with the client, both on a pretty equal balance. You get to see what it's like to really live with a dog and work on everything. And then you get to see what it's like to really communicate with someone and making sure they understand everything. I can't remember what I was getting to earlier either, but I find that so important in a trainer. If you do just one or the other, I feel like you're missing a bit of understanding when it comes to the dog or the human.
Yeah, I would agree. And another misconception in the dog world, I would say, this is more for trainers than anything, is that a lot of people really think that with behavioral modification or serious behavioral issues, you have to do a board and train, which I actually think is, like, very far from the truth in some cases. Like, we do a lot of behavioral modification and one-on-ones. And in some cases, I think it's more beneficial because we're getting real-time progress updates week by week as we're saying, hey, adjust this in the house and let me know how it goes, right? And then we can get that feedback, roll with it for a little bit, and then have them make another adjustment, right? And we've had some cases where clients, have seeked out other trainers before coming to us, and they said, no, you have to do a board and train. And in some cases, a board and train is just way out of their price, their price limit that they have for things.
Exactly.
You can't afford it. So if I can give them a cheaper alternative to still get those same results, like, hey, it's going to take a little more work from you. Maybe, you got to do some of that upfront heavy lifting, but there's no reason why I can't still get you to your goals,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's honestly, David, I think that's about it for now. Like, I had a few other questions, but we did cover them, in our other conversations. So I think for now, that's pretty much it. I thought it was great having you here. Like, I thought Your insight and everything is great. You seem extremely intelligent. I'll be honest. Like you seem very intelligent. You seem
I
like you really
appreciate
have
that.
a love for the industry on top of a love for dogs and people. Like you, it seems like you just love this industry, and I feel like we're the same in that matter,
Yeah,
which is great. And I think you're such an asset to the industry. I notice you have a tug tattoo right here. Is that what you got?
they're
Double
right there.
handle? Yeah,
That's
it's
right.
nice. Yeah.
That's
So,
hilarious, dude.
do you have any questions for me at all?
No, man, I'm excited to have you on my part. We'll talk about dates for that
Great.
later today, probably. But yeah, no, I think this was awesome. I'm really happy to have been on and for you to have asked me. I do have a question though, actually. What
Yeah.
room are you in right now?
Oh, good. This is our it's our warehouse room. Oh, it's a funny question. I
What
have
is that, like
a
merchandise and stuff, or what?
yeah, it's all of our like leashes, collars, and everything in our for our shop.
Man, you're
We
stocked up there.
oh yeah, we got a ton of stuff here. We just got this place, so we just opened our daycare a
Yeah,
week ago. So that's where you
that's
might have
awesome.
heard the dogs running around in the back.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so we have all this. This is our warehouse. We're setting up a shop in front of this room, but the
yeah,
studio room that I wanted to set up to do our podcast stuff is it's not set up yet. It's just pure construction in there. So I
yeah.
figured I'll just do it in the warehouse.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
looking at that. I was like, damn, I was like, you got an operation over there. I was wondering what
Yeah.
we have so little space where we're at right now. Like our facility is like it's like 2,500 square feet. And then we just like 2 years ago added another like 1,900 square feet onto
Oh,
it. And
that's nice. That's
which
nice.
is great. And there's definitely places that have like smaller square footage than that. But for like a bunch of people and a bunch of dogs and a bunch of different services,
It's
it's
hard.
we're tripping over each other sometimes. Anytime I see somebody who have like massive rooms like this, I was like, God, like I wish I had that.
Yeah. Oh, I wish I could show you our daycare room, but we'll show you another day. It's huge
Yeah.
back there, but we just got this space. I was looking for ages. Our training facility is about 30 minutes from here,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's a lot smaller. Like it's like 2,000 square feet, 2,500. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's a rough time there some days. But our
Oh yeah.
staff sizing is you have a much bigger staff than I do. We have 8 people here. Yeah.
Oh nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. We have 4 trainers, including myself and Cass. Also, we have what 5 trainers. So
Yeah.
similar operation, but yeah, again, it was very nice having you. I again thought your insight on everything was great. I'd love to have another chat with you. So we'll
Yeah, for
figure
sure.
that out.
Yeah, we'll
Perfect, man.
set that up for sure.
Great. Thanks again, David. Talk to you
Yeah,
soon.
man. We'll talk soon.
Talk soon. Bye.